Well, the World Cup is upon us. After 3 days of the tournament starting, it is finally going to burst into life when one of the most toughest rivalries will be seen today. India taking on Australia at the Chepauk Stadium in Chennai. Well, Chennai is not going to be all yellow. It is going to bleed blue. Their favourite son, MS Dhoni, is not a part of the team, but one of their favourite sons, Ravi Ashwin, we are hoping that he is going to be a part of the team today. Perhaps, for all the Indian cricket fans, this is significant because this is definitely going to be the last home World Cup for the likes of Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Ravi Ashwin, Ravindra Jadeja and many others. So we will talk about all of that. But coming up, on our show is what's happening in the toss. I'm also joined by our two cricket experts, Saba Karim and Vijay Dahiya. Also joining me is Councillor Sean Stewart, and we are coming to you live from Australian High Commission. We'll shortly be joined by a lot of Australian and Indian cricket fans. But before we dive into the discussion, let's have a look at the two predicted 11s. And here's what we have put up for you. Let's bring you the Indian 11 first. On the top, we have given an option for Shubman Gill. Ishan Kishan might come in because Shubman Gill, we know that he has dengue. Whether he's going to pull up for the match or not, we still don't know, but we will let you know during the course of the match. We will also perhaps have 3 spinners in the team there because it is Chennai. And the rest of them pick themselves. We also have Hardik Pandya rolling his arm he will be doing the duties of the middle order. So for Australia is concerned, the team is being led by Pat Cummins, and the Australians will be hoping that their spinning duties is done by Glenn Maxwell as well, because Glenn Maxwell has showed tremendous improvement when it comes to his all-round abilities in the last few years. Well, we are actually counting down for the toss. We are waiting for the toss to happen. But before that, Saba, we know that it rained yesterday very, very heavily, and we've been looking at the shots. It looks like it's scorching, 89% humidity. What does it feel like being in the middle at this point?
It's tough, Rika. I recall our days when we were to play at Chennai and Chepauk. We would advise everybody that please look to hydrate yourself a day before or maybe 2 days before. And that's the cue about playing in Chennai. Hydrate yourself as much as possible so that you remain fit and you remain energetic, because it saps you. The humidity, I'm sure even after rains, the level would have gone up. So that is a tough call for both the sides. But both Australia and India played in this venue before, and they would be they do understand the conditions. Although the strip is dry with number of cracks, which means that India will definitely will go in with 3 spinners, which means R. Ashwin, the favourite child of Tamil Nadu and Chennai, will get to see him in action today.
Well, the news coming in from the middle is that Australia has won the toss and they are batting first. Vijay, your take on that?
What Saba was just mentioning about the pitch here, if they are batting first, it means they think there is something that they can use it in. Let's not forget about last time that these two teams met on this particular ground. Australia batted first, 269, and they defended. So maybe that's one of the reasons why they want to do it. And we were discussing earlier by saying there's big games, runs on the board. When Australia was dominating world cricket, we've always seen they used to put run on the board, and just scoreboard pressure is always they've used it in their favour. So they're trying to do the same thing in this first encounter of the World Cup as well.
Well, we have seen Australia following that template of putting runs on the board and then, getting teams to chase. But we've also seen thrillers between India and Australia. Australia chasing it down by 1 run. Sean, you expect, because it's Chennai, perhaps a black soil spinning track, a thriller going to be played tonight?
I certainly expect so. I mean, I don't think we can take too much from those 3 games before the World Cup that we saw. There were a lot of changes in terms of the teams, and this is the World Cup. I mean, we know the World Cup changes everything. It changes your mentality. It changes how you approach the game. So I really expect to see Australia put a good total on the board, but I also expect to see a fantastic chase from India. And with the batting lineup that India have, even if Gill does not make it into the team, they're always a chance, no matter how many, even if there are early wickets taken, you know the middle order can always pull through.
And Saba, just talking about the Indian team, do you think that looking at the Indian team, the way it has shaped up over the last couple of months, coming into the tournament, having won the Asia Cup, also the ODI series versus Australia, would you say that they have got their perfect team for the World Cup?
I think for India, things have finally, it looks quite bright now because of the preparation, and plus the so-called match winners seem to be in very good form. I think the comeback of KL Rahul and Jasprit Bumrah from injury has been excellent for India, and they would hope that they can continue in the same manner as the tournament progresses. Because mind you, this is the World Cup. It is like a marathon. I mean, that's the way I describe it.
Right.
And I think the biggest challenge for all the teams, including India, would be to keep all your top 11 or 12 picks ready and in form for the entire duration of the World Cup. But yes, for the first game against Australia, big game coming up. The only takeaway I see from the three matches that India and Australia played before the World Cup is the last game was at Mohali. Australia batted first, and they were able to defend not a very big score. So I think they would be very hopeful that if they can manage to get to a score about 280, 300, given the conditions in Chennai, that they will be able to defend.
Vijay, two interesting selections when it comes to the Indian team, and we've been talking about Ishan Kishan replaces Shubman Gill, and Ravi Ashwin comes in. So
The moment he was picked, he was part of the 15. You know that, he'll be the first choice. And honestly, come World Cup, like we're all discussing here, it's a completely different beast. And experience counts for a lot. And you're playing in Chennai. I mean, like, how can you not put his name? Because it's not only about that. The conditions, the experience that he brings in. Saba just mentioned about Bumrah coming back. But Bumrah, you use him, but with addition of Ravi Ashwin in the side, those overs from number 10 to 40 overs, you need to have somebody to take to be in your team who have the wicket-taking ability, and you have another spinner coming from the other end, and you can control the game on those middle overs, which is so heavily in favor of batting. So yeah, he's being in the side. I'm not surprised at all.
And if I can add here,
yes, please.
We've been talking about middle overs. The last 2-3 years stats suggest that the games are decided from 11 and the 40 overs, while batting as well as while bowling. That is why it's imperative that all the teams get your 5 attacking bowlers, wicket-taking bowlers who can operate for you, and you give that kind of option to the captain. So Rohit Sharma is blessed to have these 3 spinners in the mix. You can have Kuldeep Yadav, R. Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja. All 3 of them have that wicket-taking ability. On top of that, you have 2 seamers, Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj, and then Hardik Pandya also.
I think
Blessing is that blessing is fit Hardik, because Hardik gives you that that flexibility to play with 3 frontline spinners, and that's what is happening, and that's the reason why we can accommodate the third spinner with such an ease.
Sean, I'll just pick up on that and speak about the importance of all-rounders in this format.
Yep.
Marcus Stoinis missing.
Yep.
A big miss for Australia?
Stoinis is always a big miss, and you talked about big game players before, and Stoinis is one of those for Australia. And you look through the list of the 2 teams, and there are players in each team who, when they step up, when they really come up and have a big game, they're match winners. Maxwell, you mentioned before, one of those players who, having him in the team, can really turn a game on its head. So having an all-rounder who can be both a threat with the bat and the ball and change things, like you say in those middle overs, keep it tight, take a couple of wickets, control the game a little bit, is so important. So, yeah, seeing Ashwin in the team always fills me with nerves. He's such a tidy bowler, very economical, but takes and threatens the stumps every single time. So, yeah, I agree. He's
The biggest matchup is going to be R. Ashwin versus Steve Smith, isn't it?
Yeah,
can't
we
wait
look
for
forward
that.
to seeing Smith hit some form. I really hope he gets some runs on the board today.
And also look at this game as a battle of Australian pace bowlers versus strong Indian batting lineup. And then on the other hand, it is the Indian spinners versus the strong batting lineup, or the long batting lineup, which includes so many all-rounders in the Australian side.
I'm really excited to see Stark back in bowling fast, and how he performs and how those first 10 or so overs go for Australia will really dictate whether or not we can control that Indian batting lineup in that second innings.
The spinners, Adam Zampa and Glenn Maxwell, will have to do the job
And especially
for Australia.
the reason why Stark becomes so important, if you don't take wickets up front,
Yep.
then it's going to be a really challenge. And that middle overs, if you don't have good spinners, you will be exposed. And Zampa, although he's among the wickets, but if you look at his 6-7 last games, he was really expensive in one of the matches in South Africa, and one of the games here out of that match series that we played, he's gone over 100 runs.
Right.
So he definitely will be under pressure, although it'll be a different ball game when he'll be bowling to Virat.
Yes.
Vijay, staying on the topic of Marcus Stoinis, you've been in an IPL dressing room with him. What does this man, really bring to the table, and why would Australia?
Give us some insight, though.
Yes, that's
yes,
it.
inside.
He's an insider. That's what I'm asking.
That's what always you want, inside news. But let me go a step ahead and say
he's played for Lucknow this time around on spinning decks, and him being missed in Chennai.
he's a game changer. There's no doubt about that. If you remember the inning that he played against RCB. And RCB, we were chasing more than 200 runs, and we were nowhere in the game. We were 4 down for 40, and then him and Puran have changed, and that's the kind of player. He's an impact player, He'll win you a game from nowhere. But look at when you talk about the World Cup. Look at going back to experienced players. You go to the players who have been there, done that. Maxwell was unfit. He didn't play many games before the World Cup. But come World Cup, come the crucial games, and you go back to him because he's done that in these conditions more than what. Stoinis has done that, and then with his offie coming in, because if you look at medium fast bowling, Australians set up things that they have more options with them, and that's the reason why they said, all right, if it's going to turn a bit, Maxwell is a better option, and I think that's the reason why when we talk about all-rounders, somewhere down the line, this Australian think tank rate other all-rounders ahead of Stoinis.
Right. Saba, I'll also have to ask you about, how India has shaped up in terms of its batting. Would you say that this is the best batting lineup we've got and they are going to make it the Batters World Cup?
I really hope so, Rika, and I have full faith in this strong batting power that India has. Look at Rohit Sharma. This is going to be a big World Cup for him, and he has said that in as many words. On the other hand, you have Shubman Gill, an emerging star, a rising star. Unfortunately, he misses out on today's encounter.
He's had
number
1,000 plus runs
yes,
this
number
year,
3
yeah.
Virat Kohli, number 4 Shreyas Iyer. What a splendid knock he played, and it is not easy to come back from injury and start to perform. Shreyas Iyer has done that. KL Rahul is such a wonderful pick for India. He brings in that stability. Plus the way he played against Pakistan, in which he got 100.
Right.
He's the one who really worked hard on the strike rate, along with Virat Kohli. But initially it was KL Rahul who provided them with that kind of impetus. So it's a strong batting lineup. But I think because now Australia is batting first, what will make a big difference is among the Australian batting lineup, who is a better batter against top quality spin bowling.
Right.
Steve Smith, Manas, David Warner, all these players will come into action.
And I'll have to tell our viewers that when we talk about the Chennai wicket, it's the black soil that's used, and that will perhaps make it a spinning deck, and India has 3 spinners in it.
There was a time from north, when we used to go to south and west, we always talked about red soil. And we always said red soil bounce and turn if it's not prepared really well, and that's what we used to see. This is interesting that we're now saying black soil and turning. It never used to happen.
No?
North used to have black soil, and we never used to have that much
This
of
is a
time.
dry strip with a lot of cracks on the surface.
Dry and soil is completely different thing.
It's going to be tough for the Australian batters, or I'm telling you, it's not going to be easy.
It's never easy in India. But again, the team have spent so much time here. Like you talk about how much time you spent with Stoinis.
Yeah.
The team, and we talk about this a lot when we speak to the Australian team, they spend so much of their careers in India these days because of all the different competitions that exist here and their participation in the IPL, that there is an element of familiarity with these pitches as well. And so I still hold out a lot of hope that the Australian batsmen can conquer these
Vijay,
Indian
would you say
spinners.
that has stopped making India-Australia edgy encounters?
A lot of people said that about the India-Pakistan as well, because that friendly thing going on
That
before the
needle is
game.
not there.
Yes, it's not there. And I think it's more about the Aussies, because it's such a big IPL contracts. They're not as aggressive as they used to be against the Indians. But on the other end, what you just mentioned, a lot of Australian players in whatever team, whatever setup they are in, they never miss out in the nets in the IPL playing against the spinners.
Oh, wow.
And when we talk about home conditions, but this IPL side, barring on 1 or 2 people, if you look at the Australian side, everybody's got an experience to play in these conditions, and much more. Earlier you used to come here for 1 or 2 tours, but here you spend at least 60, 70 days throughout the IPL, and you
When I
play
look at
all
the Australian
different.
11, all of them have featured in the IPL.
Except Manas, Labuschagne, everyone else has got that sort of an experience. And sometimes I'll tell you, these net bowlers are really good bowlers. They don't get an opportunity to be part of any IPL side. And the amount they bat in those nets, almost sometimes hour and a half.
Wow.
So it's nothing new for them. It's only Can you take the pressure at that level? It all comes down to that now.
It's a big World Cup match. Can you
Yeah.
take a pressure of a World
Yes.
Cup match? Now, Saba and Vijay, both of you have given me your 5 players to look out for in this match. I'll start with you, Vijay. Rohit Sharma, Ravi Ashwin, Bumrah, Marsh and Smith. I'll start with first Rohit Sharma.
Rohit Sharma, I mean, like, you need your captain. You need somebody, you are what you do, not what you say. And you need a fiery sort of a captain who's got runs and just control that thing and just earn that sort of a respect. And especially a game like this, when you don't have Shubman Gill, I think he'll play a very, very important role. And if he play a 1 or 2 good innings right in the beginning of the tournament, I think the tone is set for us as far as the Indian dressing room is concerned.
We have spoken about why Ashwin is important, but why have you put Bumrah in your list of top 5 to watch out for?
You know, sometimes you don't need a title to be a leader, and he's our leader as far as our bowling department is concerned. And the moment you see him, the bowling unit, Indian bowling unit, looks completely different. And he's one of very few fast bowler in world cricket right now who's got the ability to take the ball, to take the wicket at any time. With a new ball, he comes in the middle overs, ball 1 or 2 overs, and give you a breakthrough there as well, and a phenomenal death bowler. So I think he gives so much, and he brings so much to the Indian bowling unit, which is absolutely a solid plus.
Before we proceed, let's listen into both the captains, what they had to say at the toss. Rohit Sharma and Pat Cummins coming your way.
You heard the great man say that so many times that until he wins the World Cup, he's got a bit of unfinished business. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. So it's the same for us as well. You want to win the World Cup. It's the biggest prize that you can have in your career. But again, there's a way to do it. There's a procedure that you need to follow. There's a process to it. It's good to be desperate. It's good to be hungry, but you've got to find that balance, right? You cannot get way too ahead of yourself, because that can lead into something that you don't really wish for. So
I think the most exciting thing about a World Cup is it is a campaign. It does feel like you're there with 14 other guys, and you're on a journey to try and make the next couple of months as special as it can. So I love that. There's no forward planning and you're trying to manage different formats. No, we're here for a World Cup and everyone's fully focused on that. So I've really enjoyed that, and the boys have been awesome so far. And this is my 3rd World Cup, and first one as captain. They're all really special.
Well, Vijay, we were talking about your top 5 picks. You've spoken about Bumrah. Let's quickly go over the other 2, Marsh and Smith.
Mitch Marsh, he's kind of player of like, if he can give you that kind of start that he can take the game away from any opposition. Normally you say you don't win or lose, not win actually a game in first 10 overs, but he's that kind of player that can give you that kind of start and put pressure back on the bowlers, and he's bowling again. So that adds a lot more value to this Australian playing 11. And Smith, he's got that ability, he's got that hunger, and he's got that stubbornness about him, that if he's in the center, he's got very different sort of a style of when he's batting in the middle, but the stubbornness, when that willingness to do well is going to be so very important. And he's very good against the spin, rotates the strike really well, and he's somebody who wants to bat till the end. That makes him even extra special, and you need something like that when you're playing in India.
Saba, 2 of your players are similar. I'll start with the one who he hasn't picked, Virat Kohli.
Oh, big match player. You can't put him down, and is such a happy space at this point of time, which really bodes very well for the Indian side. A big tournament coming up for him. He would be eager to perform, eager to put in some match-winning performances, and that is the reason I put him here. The entire Australian bowling attack, they dread Virat Kohli, and there is a specific reason for that. He's one player who can get you blistering hundreds. He's a match winner to the core. More so now because India would be chasing. He's mastered at that one. So I think Virat Kohli, number 1 on my list.
Do Australians dread Virat Kohli?
Dread's a big word.
That's why I used it.
I mean, Virat's such a wonderful batsman. I think we celebrate the wicket of Virat Kohli probably louder than most. I agree with you there. But I mean, you look at that Indian batting lineup, and I mean, even over the last few games that we've seen, there are so many stars in that team that right down to Jadeja. We need to keep taking wickets, and Australia need to continue taking wickets. As soon as one of these players gets settled, that's a big issue. And so Virat, I think early on he's susceptible. I think that there's opportunities to get him out, and Australia just need to see what we can do in those early overs against Virat and see if we can pick him up
So
early.
Mitchell Stark versus Virat Kohli, isn't it?
Stark and Virat Kohli, that's it.
Angles we are looking for.
I think he's Zampa as well. If you look at him against the leg spinners, that's going to be a big challenge as well.
Yeah.
And what just Saba said, not picking up somebody doesn't mean I've dropped him.
Also, Kuldeep Yadav from Chennai to Dharamshala. Do you think this man is going to show his magic?
Oh yes, in a big way. We've been talking about the importance of the middle over. That's where Kuldeep Yadav comes in. And whatever I have seen of the past couple of seasons of Kuldeep Yadav's comeback, very few batters have been able to pick him from the release. And I think that gives him the distinct advantage. And I think that is why Kuldeep Yadav in the middle overs against the Australian batting lineup, some of them are very good against spinners. That'll make a big difference. If Kuldeep Yadav can come in and pick up some wickets, I think that'll be excellent for India. That's why I put him
And just
there.
one more thing, what just Saba is mentioning about difficult to pick from his hand. But the other thing which is added, when he was a new kid on the scene, he was beating a lot of people in the air, but off the wicket he was too slow. And they were getting beaten, but still able to adjust. This is one more thing that he's added to his
To his
game.
repertoire.
Yes, absolutely. And even if you're beaten in the air, it's very difficult. Then you're gone, and that's the reason why he's more lethal now.
Okay, another lethal bowler you've put on your list, Mitchell Stark.
Yeah, for me it's Steve Smith and Mitchell Stark for India. Both of them hold the key for today's encounter. If Mitchell Stark with the new ball can pick up some wickets, then I think that will trouble the Indian batting lineup. And we have seen that in the past. At times the Indian batters, although they have prepared well, they've tried the level best, but at times they have been found susceptible to left arm, those late in dippers. And Mitchell Stark, if he can pitch the ball in the right areas and get the ball to swing late to the Indian right-handers, that may pose a lot of problems for the Indian stars.
Sean, quickly, we have about 30 seconds on the show. Your 5 players to watch out for in this contest.
Oh wow, 5 players out of these 22. It's very difficult. I have to agree. I think Mitchell Stark and Glenn Maxwell, the way they came into that third dead rubber in the 3-game series, they really changed the game for Australia. I have to agree that Kohli is always a player to watch out for. We never forget that. Bumrah and his bowling, especially, we talk about the spinners, or we can talk about the spinners on this Chennai wicket all day, but Bumrah in those opening overs and in the final, in the death, there's not a bowler I think anyone would pick outside of Bumrah at this point in time. That's 4. I'll throw in a 5th just as a wild card. Cameron Green.
Wow, yes.
His performances in India, particularly in the IPL, have been fantastic. I know he may struggle a little bit against the spin, but I'm really holding a lot of hope for Green, and hopefully he can pick up some wickets and score some runs as well.
Well, we don't know whether it's going to be an edgy encounter, but we definitely know that India versus Australia is going to be a very tough encounter in Chepauk, starting with the conditions. Hot, humid, 89% humidity out there. Thank you very much, Saba, Vijay and Sean, for joining me on the broadcast. That's a wrap on Turning Point. We'll come back to you every day at 1:30 during the World Cup. Keep watching NDTV 24/7.